Oh yes, we are here again. It comes around so bloody quickly. So bloody quickly. Every single year it feels like we're suddenly at the end of the year and we've got to do year-end lists again. And it's so exciting every time. I get so hyped up. It's like mini Christmas before Christmas. It's so good. And here we are with the top 50 albums of the year. The big one, the big one. You should have watched the previous videos of my 2023 year-end list series. I hope you've been keeping up with it. I've done the songs, I've done honorable mentions, I've done the EPs, I've done loads of others as well. Disappointing albums, the best artwork of the year. I've done all kinds of ones this year. So please make sure you're keeping up with all of those and then watch this video, because this is the final ultimate list. The top 50 albums of 2023. Look, I know it's not been the best year for music. It's been a bit of a weaker year, and we get it sometimes. Sometimes this hits us. We get a bit of a weaker year, but maybe the year after becomes like legendary. It happens. It's all good. But at the end of the day, music is still music, and there's still been amazing music this year that we have to celebrate. And if you're not keeping up, if you're not in the know, if you're not in the loop, you're going to miss it. You got to keep up. You got to keep digging. You've got to keep looking for those gems, because they don't always earth themselves immediately. You've got to dig a little bit deeper sometimes. And if you need me to help you with that, I am there for you. So make sure you're subscribed, make sure you share this video around, make sure you comment, make sure you're checking out my Patreon as well if you love what I do. It would be really, really amazing to see more people support me on there. But at the end of the day, the most support that you can do is subscribe, share this video around and leave a comment. But let me know your top 50 of the year as well, and tell me your thoughts on any of these albums, and check any of them out that you don't know too, because there's going to be quite a few that maybe you've not heard before, but they're definitely worth your time. You can trust me on that. So let's go. 50, we're starting it with something wacky and mad from Lonnie Holley, Oh Me Oh My. And oh me oh my, that is a reaction you're going to give this album when you give it a listen, trust me. 49, we've got Yule's Soft Scars, one of the most elusive and strange and abstract listens of the year. So alluring, so entrancing, so captivating. I couldn't leave it off this list. I think it's really cool. And then at 48, we've got Child, who is one of the more interesting R&B singers out there at the moment. I think this is a super overlooked R&B album from this year. There's been a few R&B albums that have caught a lot of attention and caught a lot of traction. I feel like Child might have been left by the wayside a little bit. I think this is really cool from him though. At number 47, we've got one of the most explosive indie rock albums of the year from Wednesday. You're seeing this on a lot of year-end lists, and for good reason. It's super critically acclaimed, and I think it absolutely deserves that. Number 46, you've got Black Thought, one of the best rappers of all time, still absolutely killing it, still dropping music at such a high level so late in his game. It's so cool to see. And then at number 45, we've got Ana Frango Electrico, who is just a really, really soft pop artist that just drops really cute, catchy pop tunes. The album from 2019 was really good as well. This is still really good too, basically. Really loving what the Japanese house does with their music. I guess this is my boy genius of the year, with some pop tunes thrown in there as well. Then at number 43, we've got Barry Can't Swim. What a great artist name that is. It's a really cool house techno music going on here. Really enjoying what Barry Can't Swim is doing, and think Barry Can't Swim will be pretty big at some point in a similar way to how we've seen Fred again grow. Then number 42, the massive comeback album. He finally came back, Sampha with Lahai. Oh my gosh, Sampha finally came back. It's a really beautiful album. You can't really deny what Sampha is doing here vocally. It's so stunning to listen to, and yeah, I like it quite a bit. 2021 at 41, a really cool album here that's built around Plunderphonics, not Plunderphonics. That's my phonics having a problem there, isn't it? Plunderphonics type stuff with some kind of like break beats thrown in. It's really super atmospheric, really lovely to listen to, really underrated as well. Number 40, we've got A Beacon School, which is this kind of dreamy pop album that's really, really lovely, and also has that one track that just goes in a house direction, like in the middle of the album. The track's called John. It's a fantastic track. Really cool stuff from them. 39, Home Is Where. Home Is Where. What a really good emo album here coming through from these guys, kind of out of nowhere. The type of album that Ian Cohen's going to tweet about on Twitter and absolutely rave about it, and for good reason. 38, we've got Shame with their new album. It is a bit of a shame that people aren't talking about this one as much as Drunk Tank Pink. I guess it's not quite as good as that album. I still think it's a very good release. Then next, we've got Rat Boys with one of the best indie rock albums of the year. Really liking what they're doing. And then at number 36, we've got Foo Fighters with their newest album, which is dedicated mostly to Taylor Hawkins, the drummer who sadly passed away. Really beautiful stuff from Foo Fighters here. I've always actually had a soft spot for Foo Fighters, so, you know, some of their previous albums would make year-end lists as well for me personally, like Wasting Light from 2011. I think that's a really good one. But it's really good to see that people are actually showcasing that they've got a bit more respect for Foo Fighters this year than they probably previously did. But anyway, I think it's still a really good album. At number 35, we've got Rev with her debut album, one of the most show-stopping pop albums of the year. Do not miss Rev. I think she's going to be huge one day. Then at number 34, we've got Jeff Rosenstock with Hell Mode. The guy just doesn't miss, basically. I mean, why would he not be on a year-end list at this point? At number 33, I'm not saying the full name, I'm just going to call them Psychedelic Crumpets. You Google that and you'll get the rest of their name popping up, trust me. Don't you worry, you will not miss the full name. Really good rock album from them. Really good rock album from them. At number 32, Carly Rae Jepsen with The Loveliest Time. And my God, she wasn't lying. It is The Loveliest Time. Some of the best pop songs appear on this album this year. Do not miss Carly Rae Jepsen. She's not just the Call Me Maybe girl. She drops tracks like Psychedelic Switch, Kamikaze, Shy Boy. Fantastic stuff. Next, we've got Friend Zone, who are legends. Absolute legends. If you are a fan of Clams Casino, but you don't listen or haven't heard of Friend Zone, you have absolutely done yourself a disservice. As good as anything Clams Casino ever did, and they're still here making music. It's absolutely lovely, wonderful stuff. At number 39, you may remember Aluna George. Well, Aluna has just gone solo now and is making some fantastic dance music. Like, holy moly, this is really good stuff. Some of the best dance tracks of the entire year. At number 29, though, we got Chappelle Roan with one of the best pop albums of the year. An absolute one to watch for the future. Just raging bangers on this thing. So much personality, so funny at times as well. Really big fan of what Chappelle is doing. Then at number 28, we've got Cleo Sol on the opposite end of the scale here. More sultry and slower and just some really, really stripped back neo soul music. It is really, really pretty to listen to. At number 27 here, we've got Kamau with one of the most vibrant and uplifting albums of the year. Very neo-soul influenced, but also got a bit of hip-hop coming through, pop coming through. Kind of got a bit of an Anderson .Paak vibe to him. Really fun, really enjoyable stuff. And then at number 26, we've got Kino Teki, who has really come into their own this year with this album. This is super, super atmospheric, drum and bass, jungle influenced. We've got even some like kind of like juke stuff coming through as well. Really, really cool stuff. Big fan of what they were doing on this album. Adi Oasis at number 25, super underrated neo-soul. Again, I keep saying neo-soul, but there's quite a few neo-soul albums popping up here. Bit of Erykah Badu to what she's doing. Number 24, we've got the fantastic synth punk album from MS Paint. Love that band name and love what they're doing on this album too. It's really, really ferocious and high velocity stuff. Then at number 23, we've got Kareen. We've got Kareen with the lovely synth pop album here. Very much in the vein of like what Choir Boy is doing. It really hit a spot for me. Joey Valence and Bray at number 22 were one of the most high energy, punky hip hop albums of the year. It is so indebted to Beastie Boys in a way that I know some people that have been really put off by it. But to be honest with you, man, I had so much fun with it. I could not deny it at all. And then at number 21, we have Laurie McKenna. Look, I absolutely love her wise, motherly approach to these country tracks. I think she absolutely nails it. She just is back to her best with this one for me. Top 20 now. We're in the top 20. We've made it to the big boys. And we've got Katie Gately next with an album that's super indescribable to me. It is just the most... album of the year. Absolutely mental at times. So creative, so experimental in places, but I was absolutely jaw-dropping. I was jaw-dropping? My jaw was dropping throughout much of this album. And then at number 19, we've got Romy with another underrated album, honestly. I think people were pretty harsh on this. I think it's a really clean, nice, soft-spoken sort of delivery from Romy over some really nice rhythmic house tunes. The Fred Again track I think is really cool. Some of the tracks towards the back end of the album are fantastic as well. Some of my favourites on the album. Yeah, I'm really a big fan of what Romy was doing here. Jason Isbell and the 400 unit at 18. Good God, this is just a fantastic album once again from Jason Isbell. The writing is just next level, just unbelievably brilliant. Yeah, what can I say about Jason Isbell at this point? He's truly is one of the best singer-songwriters of our time, and he proves it time and time again. So reflective, so honest and earnest in the way that he kind of just looks back on some of the mistakes he makes and is just so clear about that and doesn't make excuses. I just absolutely loved his writing style. It's so interesting, and yeah, he absolutely nailed it. Wheel Starks at number 17, complete opposite end of the stuff here, just some kind of like Brazilian house music that is just so off the wall. That is just really, really exciting and colourful. It's super short. It's like a 20-minute album. You've got enough time to listen to this on your lunch break. Just give it a try. How could I leave off DJ Sabrina, the teenage DJ, one of the best house artists of our time? Just once again absolutely destroys everyone's attempts to listen to her albums in one go, and gives us a 4-hour album this time. Just when you thought it was getting mad with the 3-hour albums, how about we increase it to 4 hours? Thanks, DJ Sabrina. I've only managed to listen to this like 1.5 times or whatever, but I still like it a lot when I do hear it. 15, we got Young Fathers, one of the biggest growers of me for the year. I liked it at first, but by the end of the year, it's ended up 15 on my year-end list, which is pretty mad. Heavy Heavy is just a fantastic album that is just so euphoric as usual. All the tunes are just like, feel like they're there to define your life in such a way that you don't really get from many other artists. They're one of the best British artists around it right now. So unique in how they approach things. Holy Moly, I Saw, Drum, just all such good tunes, man. At number 14, we got Glaive with his latest album that I feel like I'm the only person in the world that likes. I thought it was friggin' great. I like his approach to hyper pop and emo pop stuff. I think it's really cool. But everyone else seemed to think it was terrible, and everyone thought he was selling out. I'm here for you, Glaive. I think there's so many good songs on here. The Prom, 17250, so catchy, so catchy. Parannoul at number 13 with an epic shoegaze album that has some like modern classical elements thrown in places as well. Just stunning to listen to. I was never really the biggest fan of Parannoul back when they kind of started to bubble on the Rate Your Music circles in like 2020 or 2021, I think it was, but they got me this time. They got me this time, I'll say that. Nico Polo at number 12 with the stunning folk album from her. Really, really promising artist here. I think this is her debut album, but it is as good as any debut album you're going to hear this year. So many lovely springtime, really kind of like sunsetty music here that comes through. It is just to die for. It's really, really lovely. And I may as well hit you with number 11 before we get into the top 10. Let's move this forward. We've got Khalil Blue with one of the best hip-hop albums of the year. You've probably noticed there hasn't been too much hip-hop on this list. I don't think it's been the strongest year for rap, to be honest with you, but I've been absolutely all over this Khalil Blue album. It is really, really catchy, accessible, straight to the point. The tracks don't overstay their welcome. They move at such a quick pace. His flows are really excellent as well. This had to be on my list, and I'm not going to see it on many others, which is a super, super shame. We've made it to the top 10. I hope you've stuck around to see what's next, because we've got George Clanton with Urapaya, which is a fantastic album from him. He's nailed it once again. I loved Slide, but this time around he's taken some of the elements from Slide and really expanded on it and give us a bit more of a baggy sound in places too. We're seeing a little bit of that come through from a lot of like shoegaze artists at the moment. Hachi is another one that's really started to kind of expand in that baggy throwback sound. And look, I think he absolutely nails it across this album. Hachi actually appears on this album too, which is pretty cool. Yeah, I'm a big fan of what George is doing. I think he's really found a way to expand on what he was doing before in a creative way and just make for a really blissful, euphoric album. It really runs so nicely. Like if you just close your eyes while these tracks are on, it really hits the spot. At number 9, we've got what I think is Hip Hop Album of the Year from McKinley Dixon here. I absolutely love this one. The first time I heard it, I immediately played it back because it's super short, but I was just so ready to hear his production style come through again a second time. I just had to hear it again, and it's really stuck with me all year. Tracks like Run 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 are absolutely fantastic. There's so much to dig into here with the lyrics. I think the production style has improved tenfold from McKinley as well, from his older stuff. I've always liked what he was doing, but absolutely been taken aback by how much attention to detail has gone into the production, has gone into his flows. He's just really improved massively as a rapper for me on this one. I think it's fantastic. Another one that might be a bit overlooked in the hip-hop world this year, but for me, I struggle to see a world where this isn't the best rap album of the year, to be honest. Breakout band Geese at number 8. Absolutely adore what they do. They are just absolutely wacky. There's just no holds barred approach to what they do. Everything's on the table, nothing is off limits. They're very much indebted to a lot of kind of typical bands in that kind of windmill lane at the moment, but of course they're not from that scene exactly. But they also pull from older bands, from older eras as well, and have, you know, that kind of like quirky element to them in a really cool way that you'd expect from, you know, older bands such as Talking Heads, that kind of like herky-jerky approach to the vocals, but also maybe some Iggy Pop thrown in there as well, some other older classic bands that they're clearly pulling from, and they do it in such a great way. They're so strange and odd, but it's so fun and it's so entertaining from start to finish. I absolutely adore what they're doing. I think they are one of the best rock bands to break out in 2023. At number 7 now, we got Anoni and the Johnsons. Ah, what an album this is. Just so powerful as well. Like really, really hits hard across this album with the lyrics, the vocals. I've said it already, but I just wasn't familiar with Anoni's game. I knew Anoni's music before, but to now hear it in this context of these kind of more soulful instrumentals, that really highlights how strong of a vocalist Anoni is. It just really took me back. I was really floored by this one. It has to be one of the most powerful experiences in music this year. Another one that I think, you know, if you're not paying attention to, you're really missing out on some excellent music here, because Anoni and the Johnsons killed it. This is really high up on my list, and I don't think I would have anticipated it when it initially came out, but when you just can't deny something, you can't deny it, man. And Pink Pantheress with her album here, Heaven Knows, yeah, I've got to be honest with myself, this is in the top 10 of the year. I've really found it such an addictive listen. I think she's found a way to make her older style, which was really catchy as well and addictive as well, expand on it and just make more fleshed out tunes that have a bit more to them. I do think it sort of falls in the middle ground of her trying to expand on it, but also falling back on some of her old 2000s throwback isms. But when you actually just listen to it for what it is, you can't help but just be really on board with everything. She has a huge amount of personality coming through. The tracks are super catchy, super catchy. Really lots of detail to the production as well. I think that's a bit of an underrated aspect about her music. I think there's a little bit more to what's going on than initially you would expect. But yeah, tracks like Ophelia, Capable of Love, I've just struggled to put down. I think they're absolutely fantastic. Blue as well. I mean, what an unexpected sample from this year. Anyone who's from UK that, you know, is maybe around my age will remember Example breaking out in like 2009. Yeah, she sampled him on this album. It's so random. I do think some of the features could have been a bit better. Central C, for example. But overall, I've really loved listening to this. It had to be at number 6. Sofia Cortesis at number 5, and this is the one house album you're seeing on absolutely every list, and I've got to say, all the publications got it right with this one. This is as good as people are saying. I think this is a fantastic release from her. Really, really, really soulful, and just lots of emotive vocal performances coming through. It's just a really natural and fluid album that I'm really big fan of. I keep saying this about Sofia, but you know, a lot of house music is built around samples, and that's okay. That's okay. There's house albums on this exact list that are built around samples, and I love them, so there you go. But Sofia takes a bit of a different approach, and you can just feel that kind of natural energy coming through the vocals. There's a beauty behind what she does. It's very much in line with like a Kelly Lee Owens, and it hits a similar spot for me that Kelly Lee Owens did on those first few albums, particularly that first Kelly album, which has those echoey vocals, and it's just so stunning to listen to. This album has a similar vibe to that, and of course I'm going to love this just as much as I love that one too. So yeah, really love this one. You know, more music publications should be paying attention to this kind of stuff though, because this is like the only one that's appeared on their lists, and while it is top 5 of the year, they really should be, you know, more attentive to this type of music, because it's been thriving for a few years now, and this might be one of the highest peaks we've had from this style of music for sure. Sofia absolutely nailed it. At number 4 now, an album that I feel like has been forgotten about a little bit. I'm not quite sure why, but Black Country New Road. Don't forget about Black Country New Road, guys. They dropped live at Bush Hall this year, and it's been absolutely fantastic. I absolutely love this album. All things considered too, it's a pretty crazy achievement to have been able to put an album like this together so brilliantly when you've lost your main vocalist. And it's not just any vocalist either. Like, Isaac was pretty one of a kind. He was a weird, strange vocalist that had lyrics that you wouldn't necessarily get anywhere else, to be honest with you, but they managed to make it work, and all of the different members chipping in with some vocal performances here and there made for a really, really wonderful listen to me. I think musically it's stunning. The chamber pop approach that they take on this album is really welcomed from me. The fact that it's a live album and all of this beauty kind of still rises to the top is pretty impressive. It at times doesn't really even feel like a live album, to be honest. If it weren't for some of the audience sort of claps that come in, you wouldn't necessarily pick up on that because of how well orchestrated a lot of the music is. It sounds stunning. And yeah, really big fan of tracks like The Boy. I think that's a wonderful track. Some of the lyrics, some of the instrumental progressions that they come through with on this album, it's all there. It's all Black Country New Road. It's just without Isaac, and they don't suffer. I don't understand how they don't suffer. A lot of bands wouldn't have been able to do this when they've lost their singer, and do it so quickly. It's not even been that long since he left, and they still managed to come up with all of this. Yeah, I'm really in awe of it. I find it to be a really beautiful listen, and like I say, don't forget about it. You know, it's still an album from this year. It might be a live album, but I'm counting it because it is all new music that we hadn't heard before. Yeah, this is number 4 for me. At number 3 now, we have an album that's been bumped up ever so slightly, because initially I didn't give this a 9 out of 10 on review, but is now a 9 out of 10. It should have always been a 9 out of 10 if we're being honest. But Caroline Polachek, Desire I Want to Turn Into You. Just couldn't deny it any longer. This is one of the best albums of 2023. Super versatile. The range, the absolute range of this album is remarkable. There's so much versatility across this thing. So many tracks that just don't sound like one another at all. Pretty Impossible sounds nothing like Bunny Is a Rider. Bunny Is a Rider sounds nothing like Sunset. Sunset sounds nothing like Fly to You. That sounds nothing like Smoke. That sounds nothing like Billions. And yet it still feels cohesive, and it still comes together in such a wonderful way. The artistic approach that Caroline Polachek takes floors me every single time. She is easily, and I said this right when the album dropped, the best vocalist in pop music around right now. I've said it since it dropped. I still stand by that. There just isn't anyone quite like her vocally. It's a wonderful, incredible voice that she has so much range with, so much dynamics to it as well. One of a kind artist, having such a resurgence late in her career too. I mean, she's approaching 40 and she's dropping music like this. Like, usually the music industry says goodbye to women in music when they hit a certain age, but she's only getting bigger and potentially only getting better as well. It's pretty fantastic to see. You've just got to be on board. You've just got to be paying attention. If you haven't heard this from 2023 and you're thinking pop music's dry or pop music just isn't very good, one of the most expressive and interesting pop artists of our time gave us this album this year. Look at the frigging album cover too. It's amazing. Caroline Polachek undeniably did a wonderful job here. Shout out to the producers on this one as well. Danielle Hall was on this album. Just fantastic stuff. Yeah, can't deny it. At number 2 now. Ooh, can you figure it out? Can you tell me what my album of the year is gonna be? Can you? Can you? Well, at number 2, we've got Jessie Ware, That Feels Good. You know when an album just feels like it was made for you? This album is exactly that. I said at the time, I like What's Your Pleasure a lot, by the way. I think it's a really good album. But I said at the time, things could get better. She can improve on this. She can do more with this and take it even further. Because that was the first album where she transitioned into a more disco sound. So it was like, there's ways to improve on this. And I personally think she massively improved on it with That Feels Good. She gives us more energy. She gives us more of a live in the moment feel. The backing band on these tracks is just absolutely excellent and top notch. If you go see her live, you will see exactly what I mean. Yeah, but these tracks are way more funkier. They're way groovier. They're way more fun. Like, she's just having so much fun on tracks like Shake the Bottle or even That Feels Good, you know? The kind of Rick James bass line on a track like That Feels Good as well is fantastic. The Shaka Khan feel to some of these tracks, it's just everything that she's been influenced by culminating into one brilliant piece of music. It is just so good. And there's variety on this thing as well. Free Yourself has a bit more of a gospel, soulful feel. Pearls and Begin Again sound super expensive, super luxurious, super exquisite in their sound as well. Just really let loose on this one. She just has a lot of fun. The influences really come through and shine brilliantly. She's just done her homework and just taken it to another level for me. I mean, Begin Again. I mean, that is just the peak of her music, what she can do with the disco sound, isn't it, really? It's fantastic, honestly. The whole thing, like I say, just feels made for me, because this type of music, this pulling from this kind of late 70s funk era in places, this late 70s disco era, I absolutely love that kind of music. And I feel like she did everything she could possibly do to expand on What's Your Pleasure to make it into this fantastic album. Yeah, second best album of the year for me. But what could be number 1? Well, I'm actually sure you could probably figure it out this year. I think previous album of the years for me tend to be very personal to me. There's a very specific reason as to why it's my album of the year. But then if you go to other publications or other YouTube channels, you don't tend to see that album be their album of the year. And I don't do that intentionally. I just feel like I have those as my album of the years for whatever reason. You know, Breakins was last year, Natalia Lafourcade was another year. We've had Emily Steinwell as well. Like, these are albums that I absolutely adore, but they might not be album of the year to everyone else. But I think this year I may be on the same train as many other people. I think many people will be calling this album of the year, and it feels nice to share that for once, you know, to feel like I'm not alone in this one, because I think many people will be saying the same thing. Sufjan Stevens, Javelin, album of the year, without question for me this year. The minute it came out, I was like, yeah, I think I've decided what my album of the year is. I didn't want to say it at the time. I like to try and keep it a bit of a surprise, but it was so difficult not to really call this album of the year. Just inserted himself now as a GOAT singer-songwriter. Like, he already was kind of in that conversation before with how brilliant his music was, but to keep doing it again and again and again, and for it to still feel a little bit different, a little bit fresh each time, just to me, is remarkable on another level. Carrie and Lowell is probably the closest album you could maybe compare this to, but even then we're getting more like lush instrumentation, we're getting more dreamy instrumentation, we're getting the more chamber pop instrumentation coming through. It sounds stunning, it sounds big, it sounds larger than life. Whereas Carrie and Lowell, as sad as that album was, it was way more stripped back. It was really, really delicate. Whereas this album just feels like you've kind of combined some early eras of Sufjan with the more newer sad stuff and just put it together and create one of the most beautiful pieces of music you may ever hear. I just think, again, vocally, he never misses. He's an absolute emotive demon. He just pours out everything, and it hits you in the stomach every single time. The lyrics, the background of this album as well, which we found out later on after release, kind of gave it an even bigger gut punch than it already had before. But good God, just remarkable stuff. Just, yeah, speechless at times listening to some of his writing. It's so intense. And when you look at some other singer-songwriters of our time that maybe write sad music and stuff, they might have the vocals or they might have something about them that gets them topping the charts, but they're not, I don't find them to be as detailed as Sufjan or as powerful as Sufjan. There's just something about the emotions that you get when you listen to his music that just really hits hard every single time. It's incredible stuff. Shit Talk, So You Are Tired, Will Everybody Ever Love Me, just all incredible songs, and the entire thing just runs brilliantly. The production is immaculate. Yeah, what can I say? Album of the year for me, I just feel like if you're not in the know, if you're not paying attention, you're missing out on some incredibly beautiful music here. Just one-of-a-kind stuff. Like I say, Sufjan inserts himself in the GOAT conversation. He's a cut above so many other singers, and for legal reasons, just in case I get shared on Instagram again, I can't name other people he is a cut above, but anyway, I think he is an incredible songwriter, incredible writer, incredible vocalist, just does everything so well. Album of the year, and like I say, this could be an album that many people will call album of the year, and it's exciting to see a lot of people share that this year. And yeah, for me, no question about it. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you. We are here. We've done it. We've done albums of the year. I've given you my top 50, and that is it from me. Wow, what a year it's been. Thank you as always for anyone that supports me and watches me. It all kind of leads up to this one big video at the end of the year. It's always exciting to do. Hopefully you've got some recommendations. Hopefully you've got some new albums you're going to check out. Hopefully you agree with a lot of my picks as well. And that's it. Share your list below. Check out my Patreon as well. Support me over on there. Support me in the channel. Share this video around. Share it with a friend. Like the video. Comment. And thank you as always for being there, paying attention to what I say, caring about my opinions, because it really means a lot. It's really great to do this every year and people actually have an interest in what I say. So it's cool as hell to me that this happens. And yeah, let's keep going for 2024. Let's make this even bigger and better. Share it around. Have a good day. Subscribe. Goodbye.